All right, first we need to add a new class called task. Here we need a single method called execute. This is where we define a template for executing our tasks. So this is where we're going to call our audit trail. Let's declare a private field of type audit trail and initialize it using a constructor. Now let's move the constructor down. Good. That's better. So we have our field, then we have our constructor and the execute method. Over here, we call audit trail.record. Now what happens after will be determined by subclasses. So here we need to add an abstract method, public abstract void do execute, and then call it in our template method. So do execute. Now, because we have an abstract method in this class, we should mark this class as abstract as well. Now, let's go to our transfer money task class and have this class extend our task class. Now, we have a compilation error because this task class declares an abstract method that we should implement. So we press Alt and Enter and select Implement Methods. So here's our do execute method, and this is where we define the logic for transferring money. So we simply print a message saying transfer money. With this structure, we no longer need the execute method here because we implemented it once in our base class. So delete. Also, we don't need this audit trail field because once again, we declared it in our base class. So delete. Now, we have a compilation error here. Let's delete this line. This error is saying that there is no default constructor available in the task class. A default constructor is one without any parameters. So look at the task class. Here we have this constructor that takes an audit trail object. So we don't have a parameterless constructor. So when creating a transfer money task class, we have to pass this audit trail object to the constructor of the task class. We can do that using the super keyword. So just like this references the current object, super references the parent class. So super, here we add parentheses and pass the audit trail object. So this is how we implement a concrete task. Now, if adding this constructor is repetitive work for you, you can solve this problem by adding a default constructor in the task class. Take a look. So we add a default constructor. It doesn't have any parameters. And here we can set the audit trail field to a new instance of the audit trail class. So with this constructor, we have the ability to pass the audit trail object from the outside. That is useful if you want to share an audit trail amongst many different tasks. In this particular implementation, it doesn't really make much of a difference. Having this constructor with this parameter would be useful if we were dealing with an interface. So we could decouple the task class from this audit trail class and swap an implementation of the audit trail from the outside when creating a task class. But let's not worry about these aspects at this point. Let's focus on finishing the implementation of the template method pattern. So now that we have a default constructor here, we don't really need this constructor with this audit trail parameter. When we create a new instance of this class, the Java runtime is going to call the default constructor of the task class. So with this, we can simplify the implementation of each task. We only focus on the logic specific to that task, okay? Now, in the main method, let's create an instance of the transfer money task class. Now take a look. Here we have two methods, do execute and execute. The problem with this implementation is that I can skip recording information in an audit trail by calling this method directly. So if I call this method and run our program, this activity is not going to get recorded in an audit trail. So that is completely against the idea of implementing this execute method as a template for executing tasks. To solve this problem, we should hide this method within this class. So we don't want to use the public keyword here, but what if we use the private keyword? We get a compilation error, illegal combination of modifiers, abstract, and private, because private methods are not inherited by subclasses. So if we declare this as private, we will not be able to override it in our transfer money task class. So this is where we use another access modifier called protected. Protected is similar to the private in the sense that it hides this method within this class, but it makes it visible to the subclasses. So take a look. In this subclass, we can override or change the implementation of this method. Okay. Now we should also change this access modifier to protected. Now back in the main class, we have a compilation error because this method is not accessible outside of our task class. So the only way to execute a task is via the execute method. Now when we call this, first the activity gets recorded in an audit trail, and then the money is transferred. So this is how we implement the template method pattern.